Monday, November 24th, 2025. I almost recorded and posted over the weekend because that it was just kind of a little whirlwind of stuff happening. But then I decided, nah, let's just wait and see what the ladies have to say about the weekend's activities. So we'll go in the order that they went, but that's not the order they happened. They first talked about Marjorie Taylor Green resigning from Congress. And the one thing that they didn't point out, and there was all sorts of opining about she wants to run in a bigger election, she wants to run for Senate, she wants to run for president. You don't have to leave your office in order to run for another seat. So I don't think that's it. I think uh, I think that what none of them talked about is what AOC said, which is I think probably more to the point than any of them is that she made $25 million as a congressperson. And AOC pointed out that it was, on insider trading regarding, you know, guns and weapons. So that's interesting. And then she picked her last day to be either 1 or 2 days after the sort of requirement of her having served so that she can get a lifetime pension. So we're going to pay for her for the rest of her life. She's going to get a government pension paid by us forever because she stuck out her terms long enough and stayed 1 or 2 days past the the requirement. And it could very well be she just wants to take her 25 million and go home. That this isn't worth it. That all of this bullshit and all of this rhetoric and all this because she didn't have a problem being mean and nasty to anybody else and harassing high school kids who were just, part of a massacre. She didn't have a problem being a screaming monkey in the State of the Union address. But she got upset when the yelling came back at her and the threats came to her. She didn't care about turning up the volume or the rhetoric as long as she was facing it, it was facing from her to someone else. But as soon as it came back at her, she ran. I think I think she's just. I would love, and this might be wishful thinking. I would just love for her to disappear to the ether, and we never hear from her again. I don't think. Um, I mean, yeah, I'm guessing if because it's so abrupt. If she'd had this month of her um, sort of rehabilitation tour that she was sort of holding her own on. And maybe that was too much. Maybe it was just like, I don't get to yell at people the way I want to yell at people. This isn't worth it. Um, so I think just the whole thing got to be too much for her. And she's like, fuck it, I'm out. Um, you know, I'm sure CBS News would be glad to get her because, ugh, ugh, because they've gone in the toilet. But I don't know that she wants to do that either because it's still part of the public realm. I think that and maybe again wishful thinking. I would love if she just went away, and then maybe we could prosecute her for the insider trading at some point. That would be nice. Um, Although we'd have to clean out a lot of Congress, which is fine by me. And then the other thing that happened over the weekend, I think it was on Friday. Um, uh, Zoran Mamdani, the mayor-elect from New York City, went to meet uh, the Orange Toddler at the White House, and in just surprise, surprise, after all the rhetoric and calling him a communist and saying New York is going to fall apart if this guy's elected, he couldn't fawn over Mamdani enough. And I read somewhere somebody said, "Well, yeah, he's like the shiny thing on TV." And now the shiny thing on TV came to see him, and that's very exciting. Um, and I don't know which one of them, said that it was like sort of, Trump got swept up um, in sort of the the rock and roll kind of hype of it all, because he's the new cool kid, and it's it was fascinating. And the way that Trump looked at him from the desk, it was like his children have never seen him beam that way at them. Um, but he got basically called Trump a fascist to his face, and say that and have Trump say that's okay. He got Trump to stand in front of a portrait of FDR, classic Democratic socialist, um, with a big thumbs up. And Mamdani is standing there in that picture with his hands in the front, and no teethy grin, just a just a just a smile. But you can see it. It's like, I own this motherfucker. You can see it in his face. He's like, I can't believe it's this easy. Um, and I think it was that easy for him. And I agree with Sonny Hostin. Like, he just went and is like, "You're not going to outsmart me, you dumbass motherfucker." And she's right. We'll talk about real estate. Um, and Donald Trump doesn't know what affordability means, but he knows it's a buzzword, so he's just going to keep repeating it. And Mamdani is genius at taking anybody's sort of gotcha question or GOP talking point and flipping it around and making it about why his policy is, uh, why he's making the policies recommendations that he is. And I was flabbergasted. Amy Alyssa Farfar Griffin, she's like, I don't agree with him on policy on anything. It's like, so you don't think that the city should be more affordable for the people who live and work there? Um, it's just it's I mean, I get it. There's all sorts of people with all sorts of opinions about what he can and cannot do. But I'd rather see somebody swing for the fences and and campaign from a place of, like, you know like, deep rooted care, rather than, um, the consultants and the polling told me to say these words. Like, now that he's been doing this whole thing about affordability, they're all going to talk about affordability, but they're not actually going to mean it in a way that he does. It's not going to come out of people unless it's genuine the way that it does from him. Um, so that's going to be an annoying thing for the next few election cycles. And, Sarah fucking Haynes, she starts complaining about the primary system. They were saying that the far left and the far right have a lot of overlapping ideas, which they do in terms of affordability and how the people feel ignored, but um, in vastly different ways. But she's saying because the primary system is so broken, we end up with these extreme candidates on either end, on the far right or the far left. And uh, I'm sorry, you did get a lot of extreme candidates on the MAGA GOP fascism ticket, but I don't know what the fuck you're talking about in terms of extreme candidates on the Democrat ticket. Because, like, was Hillary Clinton the extreme left over Bernie Sanders in 2016? Was Joe Biden the extreme left candidate over Elizabeth Warren or Pete Buttigieg? Pete's pretty moderate. The primary system is actually, for the Democratic ticket, creating more centrist corporate bullshitters that we don't want anymore. And that's sort of the one thing that's come out of this current regime, is that it's exposed these assholes for who they are: the Chuck Schumers, the Hakeem Jeffries, all of that whole old guard that are just want to keep the things the way that they are. They, if someone claims that they're uh, socially liberal, but fiscally conservative, that's the Democrats. They're not doing anything to actually make things more equitable. They'll say they want equal rights for people, but they're not really making any effort to make things to level the opportunity field for people. And so, we're facing actually more of what Sarah is afraid of, is that there's more of the Democratic base that is like, we want you to be more like Zoran Mamdani. We want you to be more like Bernie Sanders. We want you to care more about us and less about your corporate interests. And Sarah doesn't. She's just she goes on vibes only, and doesn't really get it because what she's saying about the primary system is completely inaccurate. Um, but she gets all mad about it because that's it fits her moral high ground of the moment. Um, and she doesn't really stand for much. Um, anyway, uh, yeah, and then we've got the stupid fucking House of Representatives that to um, voted against socialism and make sure that there were no socialist agendas passed in Congress. It's fascism that we're trying to fight. We're trying to fight fascism. And if you're saying there's no socialist agendas or socialist programs that should be, then are we getting rid of Social Security? Are we getting rid of public education? Are we getting rid of libraries, the police, the fire department, Medicare, Medicaid, all of it? Are we just getting rid of all of those because those are all social programs? It's so fucking stupid. 84 Democrats in the House voted on this stupid resolution of there's so many more things that we need to be fighting. Socialism isn't one of them. But it's just this sort of this bugaboo word that people are all scared of. And it's like, it actually, it just means that we're helping people that need help. We can afford it. Anyway, if the wealthy and the corporations would pay their fair share of taxes, which they don't. But that's, it's the tax brackets of the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s that made the country great, that made us one of the richest countries in the world, and then we squandered it all. We gave it all back to billions so that people could become billionaires and trillionaires. And where's the fucking Musk library or the Bill Gates national park? Like where they're not sending it back to us. It's not trickling down. Starbucks just gave their new CEO $100 million contract and then won't pay their baristas. Like Walmart um, pays their employees so little that they have the largest workforce that are on government assistance. They're working, but they don't make enough. But the Walmart family sure does. Anyway, that's enough of that rant for the day. Tomorrow, I think we get to talk about the fact that a federal judge threw out the charges against Tish James and James Comey today, saying that the prosecutor that brought them was illegally um, appointed. So that'll be a fun one to see how the orange toddler melts down over that. It feels like it's a good way to start the week so far. We'll we'll see how it goes.